Just sort of do a little video. This is a little prelude to our 2019 best of. Really appreciate everyone's support this year and enjoy some of the highlights of some of the people we've had a chat to. Any tips, last tips, Dilsey?
Hit it close.
I'm Matt, your host.
Big Red, how are we?
Good,
Dilsey
mate.
here.
And we've got producer Timmy, as always.
How you going, mate? Timmy.
Still not allowed on camera after the incident.
No, thanks, boys. Good to be back.
The podcast is called Beers and Banter. Well, hopefully, cheers. We'll have a couple of cheers to the first episode. The idea for this podcast really did come from the fact that the Gold Coast is just really dense with high-level athletes, whether they're Olympians, former footy players or footy players. There's the surfers. Obviously, we've got the best surfers in the world here. So it really come from the idea that at some point I might be able to lure 2 or 3 of these people onto the podcast, and then along the way we might talk to some local legends as well. So,
and even better, this week we've got our first guest live in studio. Special guest, former Queensland cricketer Aaron Nye. Errol, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure. Thanks, boys.
And special guest in the seat tonight, John from My Lure Box. Got Peter Gwynn, special guest. Fastest man on 2 wheels around the Gold Coast, they say. Former number 1 draft pick, All-Australian Demons legend, Jeff White.
Howdy.
Let's rip in. We're here with the reigning, defending Australian Superbike champion, Troy Herfoss. Beers and Banter, episode 25. Boomers bust. Broncos, could they be the second team in Brisbane? And we've got Black Hops Brewery in the house. AJ, Bronco and the Crab. Welcome to the Sweaty Box.
Hey, Matty. How are
Thanks,
you,
Matty. Cheers, mate. Good to be here.
Beers and Banter, episode 28. We are joined by none other than in-demand Gold Coast Titans back rower, Jai Arrow. Jai Arrow, welcome to the Sweaty Box.
Thanking you. It's it's great to be here and looking forward to the chat.
Welcome, Nizey. Thanks for coming to the Sweat Box. That is Beers and Banter HQ.
Yeah, very good. Thanks for having me.
That's actually what I wanted to call the show, the Sweaty Box, but it didn't.
Probably already used.
Yeah, didn't get off the ground.
So, Big Red, couple of stats here I got from Nizey's career. 11,000 first-grade runs, 30 first-grade centuries, and as you mentioned, 2-time Peter Burge medalist, 3-time runner-up. So, arguably, probably Brisbane's best grade cricketer we've had in many, many years.
Former Renault driver, Lukey. Welcome to the Sweaty Box.
Matty B, thanks for having me, mate. Thanks for having me along. How you been?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. Can you explain the former Renault driver thing to me? So was it F1 or was it like Formula Renault? Or?
You read it. I said Renault salesperson, not driver. So you've read the card wrong.
This could be a short podcast. I'm here to talk to Troy. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, 3-time Australian Superbike champion, 2015, 2016 and 2018.
Yeah.
So what I was going to ask you is what's more dangerous, riding a Superbike or riding a pushy around the streets of the Gold Coast?
Definitely the push bikes.
Yeah, really appreciate you coming in. You're obviously a hot topic in the sport right now. We might get into that a little bit later, but I just wanted to, could you run through us what a week of pre-season looks like at the moment?
Yeah, so a week of pre-season, it's obviously the grueling time of year. I wouldn't say we don't enjoy it, but it can get mentally and physically, it ruins you. But sort of what we're looking at is a Monday to Friday, unless you're in Fat Club. You don't have to go in on weekends, which is we get our weekends if you're training hard and working hard, unless you're a fat mess like Jared Wallace. So I was a Monday session today. We sort of have.
I'd be careful. I saw him throw a few on the weekend. He goes all right.
Mate, I'm looking for. I'm hoping he wants to fight again because I'll put my hand up. If he wants to go me, I've always said I'd jump in the ring with him.
Look out, 2020 postseason.
100%. He literally said to me because he was looking for an opponent, and I said to him, mate, I'll jump in the ring with you. Like we'll look after each other. A little payday or something like that, and away we go. So if he wants to fight again, I'll be happy to put my hand up, that's for sure.
You heard it here first, folks.
Sorry, back to the pre-season training. Yeah, so it's a Monday to Friday. Monday sessions are So in the morning we have either gym, wrestle. Our coach doesn't like to call it wrestle. He likes to call it tackle technique.
Yep.
Into like a mini skills, sort of ball skills and stuff. And that'll sort of range from the mini skills goes for about half an hour. With rest or tackle tech, we'll go for 45 minutes, and gym sort of ranges between 45 to an hour, just depending on what session it is, because we do gym 4 times a week. Tuesday sessions, and then finishing with the field in the Arvo, which is just skills with the ball, going through plays and stuff like that. And Tuesday is a little bit of a touch up in the morning, which will probably go for about an hour, and gym in the Arvo with. In between, we've got to do all these extras with stretching, and there's a lot of stretching involved, and they're making us do 10 minutes ice baths every day. So that's 40 minutes of sitting in freezing cold water, which again can start getting annoying, because when you're doing it consistently every day and you're just sitting there in the ice bath freezing your ass off, then it can kind of get annoying, but it does make you feel better. But and then Wednesday's like a sort of cardio session in the altitude chamber, which is an absolute nightmare again. It can sort of get to you, it doesn't gas you quick, but it's your legs, like the fatigue on the watt bike can kill you. And then Fridays, I think Thursdays is the exact same as the Tuesday session, and Friday is the Thursday is the same as the Monday session, and Friday is a Tuesday session. So, I'm probably in there from... Our arrival's from 8:30 in the morning, which is a little bit of a sleep in. So I like to get up early, about it's probably not early, quarter to 7. I get up, drive to Ida's Cafe and have a coffee and a toasty, and then I'll get myself there by 8:15. And sometimes I won't leave till 3:15, 3:30. So it is a long day, but it's best job in the world, but. And wouldn't give it up for the world.
We're on the up.
Some bloke requested some soccer news. Now I don't know if that game's going to catch on, but
what is it?
Soccer.
What's
it's like
that?
Kickball.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, he wanted me to give Liverpool a shout out.
Where do they play that?
Europe. I think it's Europe.
Okay.
In the World Kickball Cup, I think it's called. Now, look, we're probably into the featured segment of the show. We did it a little bit last week with Timmy. Showed us, some of the things he's interested in. Now, this is the segment where we're going to deep dive into our special guest's, sporting career. This week, that's you.
Not real special.
One of us was a bit of an athlete growing up, and the other guy played golf. So let's talk about your golf career.
What was your career?
Well, pick a sport. I can do it.
Boxing.
What happened?
I peaked at 13.
How'd you go in your match?
Yeah,
Your title
I think
fight.
boxing career.
When you're 0-2, when you're in your boxing.
Is that why the gloves hung up there?
That's a shout
Literally
out.
hung up the gloves.
That's a shout out to Les Sherrington. Actually, he signed that one for me. Les, top bloke. But no, all jokes aside, let's talk about your bit of golf. It's your claim to fame. University of Scottsdale, Arizona.
There's not much fame there.
Well,
yeah, no, I went. I spent a bit of time in America at college, straight out of high school. Good experience. I wish I could probably go back and do it all again, knowing what I know now.
There'd probably be less beers and banter and more time at the range, do you think?
No, there'd definitely still be beers and banter.
So I did a bit of stalking on Instagram. Is it true you caddied for Adam Scott in 2003?
Not in the main tournament, but in the Par 3 tournament, which is on the Wednesday.
That's pretty
Tell
cool.
us that story, Errol. It's a good story.
It's a very good story.
So you are a former Australian time trial champion. You do move pretty quick on the bike. Some might say you've got the most enviable bike collection on the Gold Coast.
You've been talking to Dane Murray.
I have. Yeah. What is it called? A collection of bikes? Is it a quiver or is it
Don't know.
a shack? A shack of bikes?
Yeah.
Or
Shitload.
a shit tin?
Yeah.
How many bikes total you got in the garage?
Probably about 5 or 6, but turn them around a bit. But yeah,
And
that's not including kids, obviously. But there's 8 more with them. But
you're not famous, but I would say you're successful. You run a successful business and successful sport. There's something about your mindset that when you put your mind to something, you're good at it and you can excel. Where does that come from? So I'll give people at home a bit of a background. You've completed the Hawaiian Ironman, which, I can't imagine that there's not a lot of people that have done that. That takes a lot of, just as much physical ability, but mental strength to get through these events that you do.
Yeah. I mean, with that is, it's a constant getting up same with business. It's a constant getting up every day. And, if you have a shit day or bad day, you just come back the next day, put it behind you, switch it off and go, just forget about that.
Yeah.
Same with business or, anything you do, as you guys know, you have those periods where it's hard. You just got to put that behind you, keep going till you reach your goal. And sort of when I did Hawaii, I set the goal to do that. And then when I've come into business or anything I've done, I've just taken that same mindset.
Yeah.
So, going, right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get there. Just pretty much keep going until I get to where I want to be. Write my goals down, all those sort of things.
I would say you come from a successful family. You've got some brothers and sisters that are quite successful in their fields.
Yeah. Sorry, mate. Go on. It's a fairly famous story, Australian Rules. That was the book? What was the book's called, that was my brother Phil, so he's a writer, so he wrote a book called Deadly Under, which won Australian Book of the Year, and then he wrote a film, the screenplay for the film, which is Australian Rules. So
I watched that a little while ago. That was a powerful movie. That was a powerful film, and essentially about your upbringing, your childhood. Is there something from those tough times that makes tough people?
Yeah, I think there is. It's I've got 7 older brothers and sisters, all very successful. So when you look where we come from, it's easy to go. I suppose it's easy to say, well, woe is me, but none of us have ever done that. We've all been driven.
Before we started recording, we were talking inside about kids in schools and a nice safe place and no bullying and all this sort of stuff. And it's like, is that good for our kids or bad for our kids?
Yeah, it's a good point. I think.
I don't want to see bullying. Don't get me wrong.
No.
But when we make things too easy and make take away all resistance, is that what's creating the culture where maybe we've seen it. We've seen the decline of our Olympic teams, and we've the big footy codes, and that's still successful. But these coaches are having to deal with these millennials, and I don't know whether it's necessarily the millennials or whether they're just products of what we've created.
Yeah, I think you got to be prepared to lose too, don't you? You got to be prepared to a lot of people got the fear of failure, and it still creeps back in with different races I do or whatever. You still think, what if but you just got to put that aside and have a go and go, well, whatever.
I've got it strong.
You're probably going to lose a lot more than you win in sport. So
I think every time I lean over a golf ball and look at it, there's that little voice in your head just goes, "You're going to miss."
It's you laugh about it, but it's fairly common in a lot of sports, and golf in particular, when you're hitting a stationary ball, probably heightens that fear a little bit. But I think what you said earlier, when just to keep going and keep pushing, and like you said, when you hit a flat spot or you hit a hurdle, that determination to keep going, and it probably comes back to what you say, those guys that have tough upbringings where they hit a lot of hurdles along the way, and it's either give up or keep going. And then, a lot of times they'll choose to keep going, and that's what
you don't hear of a lot of, other than maybe race car drivers. You don't hear a lot of success stories. Oh, dad was a billionaire, kid had everything he ever wanted, grew up to be the toughest man on the planet. This doesn't happen.
No. You don't hear it much, do you? No, it's a good point.
It's always people that have had to graft and grind and work their way to get to where they've got and know what. I don't know, they've had to work hard for everything that they've ever got, and that makes them the best. I could be wrong, I could be missing the mark, but I reckon there's something there that in adversity that breeds successful people.
I think life experiences and what people go through as being human is what builds them into who they are, and then that's what they use in times of, in your sporting life or your business life. You use that history to build, and and that's what gets you through and keeps you moving forward, I think.
Govs, welcome to the Sweaty Box.
Mate, thanks for having me.
Is it a golden age for craft beer? Is it?
I think it absolutely is.
Because like you said, when I first started drinking beer, it was like Forex Gold or VB.
Yeah, I think we've kind of gone back to the days where every town has its own brewery.
Yeah, which
is great. Cool. And we could kind of see that consumer direction happening outside of beer.
Is that very like an English thing? Like every pub had basically its own little brewery?
I think it's got to do with people are now, they're kind of getting disconnected to big corporations and they're looking for local connections. And, you look at farmers markets and butchers and bakers now, they're everywhere and people thrive on it because they know where the product's coming from, but also they have this connection with that source. And that's really important for them. So that becomes harder because you not only just have to market a product and sell it to someone, you've now got to live up to and fulfill their expectations and put yourself on the label as much as the product.
Righto. Do we want to... How you guys going on those?
It's not bad, this one.
I'm good, but if you want to crack some others and we can try some different beers.
I think we should. I'm pretty keen on hearing, having a taste of this eggnog stout. Is that where it all started?
It is. So that's one of the reasons I brought it along today for you guys to try. That was the beer that started Black Ops. So I rewind about 5 years ago. It was myself, Dan and Eddie in the garage doing our first ever homebrew. And in saying that, I'd been a commercial brewer at that stage for about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So while brewing wasn't new to me, home brewing was. And my first one happened to be the eggnog stout.
So what are we going for next? What do we got?
So for the last beer we're going to try, this is a little bit of a special one. So this is one of the beers part of our Recon series. So this is one of the beers that you can only get from the tap room. So this was brewed up at Bigger Waters. It's called Smokescreen.
I feel like I need to crack this and then throw it at Dilsey.
So it's a Cotton Black Ops take on a Roush beer or a smoked beer. It's beer that is brewed with barley that has been smoked over, in this case, jamwood. So we smoked the barley ourselves with the help of our local cattle farmer.
Yep.
And we brewed the beer with that barley. So I won't say too much more. I'll let you guys crack it open and have a whiff.
I'm triple parked.
Sweet yard, Dilsey. We're gonna have to put the explicit sign on this one. Oh, mate, I'll shout you. You're gonna have to. Oh. Do you know what? I was gonna ask you. Can you put bacon in a beer?
Yes, that's exactly what we did.
Oh, hints of bacon. Have you ever seen that Melissa McCarthy skit where she's like in a focus group for like a ranch dressing? I don't know. People at home that have watched Saturday Night Live will get it, but I was going to take the piss and go, like, oh, has it got some bacon in it? And that dead set, that smells so good.
Yeah, that's...
Oh. That's my new favourite beer.
So, yeah, it's a really very traditional style out of Germany and made with smoked barley. So, bacon doesn't necessarily smell like bacon. It actually smells like the wood it was smoked over. So
that is sensational.
By smoking the barley with wood, you actually get that real strong bacon aroma.
Yeah.
Obviously, a bit of an acquired taste. But yeah, I thought I'd kind of expand your horizons a little bit today.
That is sensational. That is just... Oh, folks, do yourselves a favour. Pause the podcast. Go and get yourself a can of Recon Series Smokescreen and then hit play again because this is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's a nice beer.
I could have that with breakfast on a Sunday morning.
It's got bacon in it.
I often do.
Do you? Righto. Golf. We said
big week.
We said it was going to be a big week.
Big week. It's for any golfer or any golf fan out there, it's probably the best week of the year, Masters Week.
Yep.
So we're Sunday night, Monday morning over there now. So most of the players will be arriving, or if not just arrived at Augusta for the week.
So take us through it. You arrive at Augusta. What's waiting for the players in the dressing room?
So look, they get pretty well looked after. Obviously this week it's invitation only, so they'll all arrive. They'll have lockers. They'll have gifts in their lockers. They'll have events during the week. It's a big deal. All the amateurs actually stay above the clubhouse in their own cabin, which is a bit of a tradition. So the 5 or 6 amateurs in the field get to stay in the clubhouse.
That's pretty cool.
They have a champions dinner on the Tuesday night So all the champions that have ever won the Masters get to come along to this dinner.
What are they eating? Palmy?
Well,
chicken palmy?
I don't know if it's chicken palmy. Look, it's hosted by the previous year's winner. So Patrick Reed, last year's winner, will host the championships dinner on Tuesday night.
Yep.
And obviously pretty much anyone that's still alive and able to travel will be there. So even the legends that are not playing anymore still come along to the dinner for the week. So it's a big deal. And then obviously Thursday morning we're into it for the first round. So which is Friday our time. Look, there's no better golf tournament. There's no better place to play for a player. And as a spectator or a lover of the game, there's no better place to go and watch.
Have you played the course?
Haven't played the course. I've been there. I was there in 2014, the year after Adam Scott won in 2013. So I was lucky enough to go over there in 2014, and it was just, I watched it on TV from a young kid, and it was, you obviously envisage what it's like, but when you get there and experience it, it's better than you ever imagined, as anyone that's been there would certainly agree.
Golf. Apparently there's some golf played over the weekend. You guys might know a little bit about that.
Massive night.
Huge.
Tiger.
He's back.
Arguably the best comeback of all time, isn't it?
It'd have to be, wouldn't it? Not that was only 2 or 3 years ago. The bloke could hardly walk. He's had 4 or 5 back surgeries.
He's got a fuse back. It's his lower vertebrae.
He came back. He had the yips there at one stage with his chipping. Literally could not hit a chip. The driver couldn't hit the driver on the golf course. A lot of guys questioned if he'd ever play golf again, let alone win a tournament, let alone win a major. And he's done both in the last 6 months. Just the way he got it into the clubhouse last night, the last 6 holes, he was just pretty much hit it in every spot he needed to.
Do you reckon he had their number? Like once he was in the hunt, there were some names that you threw out last week when we were doing our preview, and they didn't even feature. They weren't even close.
Yeah, I didn't do real good with the picks, actually.
No.
Paul Casey and Justin Rose didn't really.
But even...
They MC hammered. They didn't even make the cut, mate.
Rory
was disappointing. Just never got it going.
Spieth.
He's been bad.
Started bad, but came good in the last couple of rounds.
I had Stenson as a bit of a dark horse. He played really well at the World Match Play, and he just didn't quite get it firing, although he played well today.
Yeah, look, as I said last week, there's a lot of guys that play Augusta well, and there's a lot of guys that traditionally don't play there that well, and it's normally the same guys.
It's the ball strikers.
Most years that are up around the mark. But
So
no one plays it better than Tiger.
Did you play with any prolific cheaters, like any anyone you might dub Pelé on the golf course?
No, I didn't, but you probably should have cheated to help your game. That was about your only hope.
Hey, last time we played, who won?
I can't remember.
And Burrell. And
you must have had some good help, did you?
Well, our team beat your team.
Your team beat me.
Hey, potato, mate. We covered you.
Well done.
What was the most impressive thing about my golf swing?
There wasn't much. There wasn't anything impressive, probably, is the right words. But, look, I think if anything, the best advice I could give you for your golf swing would be take up lawn bowls.
I was a junior bowler back in the day. What do you got for us, Timmy?
I thought, I did hear you once cover this off, that you said the most impressive thing, this is quoting you, was the fact that he actually made contact with the ball.
That was the most surprising thing. That was a big surprise.
Okay, sorry. Got it mixed up there.
No, he's got a bit of ability in there.
Can hit.
There's not many sports that he's not good at. Just ask him.
Where did the obsession with fishing come from, though?
I think it was we moved up here. I lived at Salvage Point, which is just down the road.
Yeah.
And so all the canals there, I used to fish on the way to school, walk across the bridge to Miami Primary.
Yeah.
And just look down and be like, man, I've got to get into some of that.
Get a trevally out of the water there.
Yeah, Bream, Trevally, Flathead. We used to clean up down there. So it was, we were just in really ripe country for good fishing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it just sort of used to offset all the sport and you know, just living right on the right spots. You get into it and you start to froth it. And, yeah, we're pretty lucky here with all the canals everywhere. So it's there's a lot of fishermen on the coast, and that's what kicked it off. And then I started getting into lure fishing and started reviewing lures, and that's when social media came around at the same time. And it's just been a lot of fun since then, mate. So I see guys sort of set their lines out. All you got to do is drop it down and leave it. And there's some big badass, like they're gonna wreck you if you're not ready jacks. Like they'll rip a rod holder to pieces. And they're an aggressive fish. That's probably pound for pound one of the best in the world, no question about it. They're ferocious. They've got teeth. They'll rip your hand apart if you put it too close. And there's some sick jack fishing to be done, and they're probably the trips that I like the most. Is I'll go with my brother, maybe a couple of boys with some tinnies, and we go hunting up these tiny little like mozzie infested creeks and midges, and it's pretty nasty. But you get onto some psycho fishing, that's out the middle of nowhere.
Back to sport just for 1 minute before we close it.
Yeah.
Arguably Australia's greatest ever athlete, for want of a better word, concluding final race this week, Winks. Last ever race in the Queen Elizabeth on Saturday at Randwick.
Will it get beat?
Well, it's won 30 in a row, so unlikely, but it's going to go down as probably the greatest racehorse that we've seen in Australia, possibly the world, and it's final race on Saturday.
So your tips of the week, you've obviously studied the form guide.
Well, I haven't.
And you've come back with Winks.
I haven't because it's Monday, but
okay.
While we're on the topic, let's get serious for a second. Ball tampering. Ever had a go?
No, mate.
Come on, Wink. There's no one watches this show. It doesn't. It's not.
Mate,
he didn't need to. He just chucked it.
Yeah, here we go. Look, I played in some pretty amazing sides in Queensland. We had Bickle, Kasperwitz, Ashley Nofke, Joey Dawes. There was a few blokes that really
just lost something.
We didn't need to do a lot to get the ball going because they were seriously talented bowlers, and we had a group of players that we didn't really need to worry about that. We won every game we played, which was good.
Sorry about that. Yeah, righto.
And to be honest, and I think we mentioned this off air beforehand, the Pakistanis used to use one of these things, and they used to put a slither or a cut in the ball, which aerodynamically, when the air's running across one side, it catches that and then makes it move. A sandpaper's not going to do much. It really isn't. So it was laughable from a cricketer community that he's even asked him to do that.
So not only did they embarrass the nation, they just weren't even doing it properly.
No. There's
didn't go hard enough.
Yeah. But I'm almost certain you'll start in the side for Queensland, bat 5 in all forms, and bowl, and you'll have a really integral part of the team. And then 2 weeks after that, Andrew Symonds got vanquished back to Queensland cricket, which he and I were obviously the very similar cricketer. Obviously, he's a lot better, but I filled in that spot for him, really, really well, and the rest is history because he never got picked for Australia again, and Michael Clark made sure that he didn't. And then for me,
what juice he got there? There's a lot of speculation that goes on amongst that whole saga.
Well, look, Roy was old school. I'd actually never trained or played cricket. I was lucky to play with a few blokes. Greg Rao was amazing, one of the most amazing competitors I've ever played with. Andy Bickle, you could throw the ball at Andy Bickle when a team was 2 for 350, and he would give you, it's 40 degrees and it's day 4. He would give you 100% every time, and trained really hard. Andrew Symonds, everything at training was competitive.
Yeah,
and he'd suck you into this vortex of getting into this stoush at training. Whether it was we'd play touch football in the morning, and he'd be dropping shoulders into people. In fact, Lee Castledine missed 2 Shield games because he popped a rib, and that was all off Andrew Symonds thinking
that's Michael Jordan-esque. They talk about Jordan and the competitor that he used to harass his own teammates and just like trash talk them at training to the point where like it messed with their heads. Like him and Scottie Pippen were like a great duo, but they don't like each other, do they?
I'm not sure. That's an interesting one. But from an Andrew Symonds point of view, he was just a lethal trainer, and he liked to play. His words were play hard, party hard. You always got to celebrate a win, no matter what. And
So
they don't do it anymore.
So you talk about him training hard. That's not the story that everyone was sold. That he comes off as the larrikin and the not interested, and he's going fishing instead of turning up to meetings. But that's a different side of it. Like a competitor, fierce competitor, trained hard, but just thought you should be enjoying yourself at the same time.
I think and I'll paint this picture for you, and I won't go into it anymore. Roy rang me up one day because I live down the coast here, and we were good mates. So he was pretty vocal about me not getting picked even when he was back in the side. We went pigging at an old place where Dylan and I used to work, Gainsborough Greens, at 7 o'clock in the morning. And Roy had a fishing box in the back full of 4X gold. And Roy used to fill up 2-litre milk bottles full of water and freeze them.
Yeah.
And then he'd just get an axe and he'd chop it up. And then he'd pre-prep the carton the night before. I've never, ever had a beer at the perfect temperature like Roy used to provide them.
Hello, boys.
Junior.
How you going?
We're starting to worry about you, mate. You've been
Sorry, boys.
been MIA for a couple of weeks.
Just been regrouping.
Yeah. Work called. Sorry, boys.
No, that's all right.
Isn't work punting?
I wish, Dylan. I wish. I'd be broke though last few weeks. But good pod the last 2 weeks, boys. I loved last week.
Yeah,
Terrific.
yeah, it was probably my favourite so far. Well, this one's going pretty good. We got Pete in the studio with us. He's one of the leading cyclists on the Gold Coast. Fastest man on two wheels, they say.
G'day, Pete.
How you going, mate? How are you?
Have you got a Tour de France tip for us, Junior?
Oh, Tour de France. At times, maybe, I don't know. I don't know.
Stop it.
It's not my specialty, boys. But that has started last week.
Yes.
Yeah, weekend.
Hey, I don't want to hurry up, Junior, but what do you got for us this week?
So you are giving me the hurry up.
Sorry, we're behind. We're running behind.
You're all right, mate. Hey, this week there's a 4-leg multi that just can't lose this week for the Jaffa.
Here we go.
You don't have to cop the irate fans that put their house on it every week.
Yeah, I've seen a few sprays. Still pretty bad.
Just tell them to put the car instead of the house.
What about the nippers?
I'm in hiding. I can't show my face at the club at the moment.
4-leg multi.
So we want to make this a bit of a tradition. Thank you for being our first in-studio guest. It's been a pleasure. I'm going to hit you with 3 questions. Rapid fire, if you think first thing that comes to mind. Your favourite bar that you've had a drink in the world?
There's a rooftop bar in New York called Esco or something. I can't remember the exact name, but it basically looked over the Hudson River and down the left-hand side of New York. Was pretty cool.
Before we wrap it up, though, I've got 3 questions for you that we ask all our special guests.
Yep.
It's a bit of a rapid fire, so first thing that comes to mind.
Yep.
Favourite destination anywhere in the world for a ginger beer?
To be the Baffle Creek Tavern.
Baffle Creek Tavern.
I'd say Annecy in France on the lake.
Oh.
After a ride.
Yeah.
Anywhere in the world? You mentioned the world?
Yeah. Anywhere in the world?
Yeah, Annecy is my favourite spot in the world, so I'll go there.
Hawaii, Waikiki Beach.
That's a new one. I like it. Good.
Favourite place to have a beer? Oh, there's probably a few places. I love it down in Bright, Victoria, in the summer.
Yeah, beautiful spot.
Yeah, and a bucket of Coronas down at Nobby's.
Yeah.
I like it.
That's hard to beat.
Yeah.
Where would you have a beer down in Bright?
Down at the Bright Brewery.
Down at the brewery? I didn't know there was I haven't been there for 20 years.
Yeah,
so.
the Bright's got a massive brewery there, so yeah, they got a big selection of beer.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Burley Heads.
Black Hops Brewery.
Some of the bars in Burley that have got some black hops on tap?
No, I'd be up at Burley Point
on a point
Sunday afternoon
with a few of these cans.
Absolutely. Ride the Treadley up there.
Yeah, ride the Treadley. Hopefully, the surf's good.
Let off some firecrackers.
Oh, why not?
You're a local, right? You used to go to point parties for sure. AJ?
Oh, the top pub at Byron.
Top pub?
Yeah, I love it.
Shark Bar.
Shark Bar.
Mate.
Bit of a reno there at the
Oh,
moment.
no, Burley Hotel, sorry. Burley Hotel.
Yeah, nice spot. Next one, favourite athlete of all time?
Michael Jordan, hands down.
I grew up with Michael Jordan on the telly.
Big basketball fan, so I'd probably go Michael Jordan.
Another one. I don't even know if we should bother asking. It's going to be this. I know the answer. Favourite athlete of all time?
Well, yeah.
The listeners at home can check Jeff's Twitter profile picture for the answer.
Yeah, Michael Jordan. He's so yeah. I guess I've got plenty of stories, but the quick story about it is that my dad went to a conference. He was working for Pepsi at the time.
Yep.
Went for a conference in Chicago in '87. Came back and said, and Jordan had actually he drafted in '84, and I was a big basketball. I played more basketball than footy. And Jordan had actually been injured, broke his ankle. So he'd been injured for 2 or 3 years. So hadn't really played.
Yeah.
But he was all over everywhere in Chicago. But we didn't have social media back then. No one was really talking about it. And he brought back Bulls 23 and said, this guy's going to be pretty big. I think you should follow him. Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys can share the story. Do you know what this story?
That's his rookie card.
I'm hoping you can tell the story, and it's why the pod started, basically. You guys met him?
No, Whitey. Well, before we go on, did he beat you or did you beat him the day you played golf with him?
MJ?
Yeah.
No, we played together.
Oh, you're same team?
Yeah.
So,
what, versus Bill Murray or what?
No.
Please.
So
tell the story.
Well, so obviously, I don't know if Dylan's mentioned in the previous podcast, but he's good friends with Adam Scott. So, and that's how I met.
Are you kidding? Yeah. Every time he takes his hands out of his pockets, all the names fall on the floor. Like,
yeah, there
biggest
you go.
name drop you've ever met.
And I didn't know that before I met Dylan, actually. When I went to the Masters, he said, I was on the phone and Dylan said, go and put him on. And that's how I met Scotty. So we've been really good mates for a while. And so I went over to Chicago in 2011.
Yep.
And I happened to be there. I try and tie it in to go and see Adam. Like I'm going there in a couple of weeks as well to watch Adam play in the BMW. So I love going to watch him play. I'm a mad golfer and I love all that sort of stuff. But at this particular one, went in there and it was always the way, wasn't it? When Scotty would say, when you're flying home, because I'd go and see him play at Coolum or whatever. And I said, I'm flying home Sunday night. He said, you better change it because we're playing with MJ on Monday. And I was, to think that would happen, and it eventuated. So he's got 3 best mates that he plays golf with. Billy Sakis, Billy Olsen, and Billy Whitney. 3 Billies. So 2 Billies were there, Billy Whitney and Billy Sakis.
Yep.
And their favourite golfer is Scotty. So I kid you not. And our other friend is Johnsy, and he still lives in Chicago. So we throw the balls up. Billy are playing with Scotty. MJ, Johnsy, and myself are playing together. So we play as a 6.
Fair grouping.
Yeah, fair grouping. We play as a 6. MJ's drinking vodka, happily given to him from Johnsy's wife, who works for a vodka company.
Yep.
Smoking cigars. We're up. They press us on the 18th hole. I have a 25-footer, and I didn't realise, but I had a shot. I was the only one who had a shot up the last and binned it. And we're chest pumping with the MJ. He said, see, I inspire not only black guys, but I inspire white guys as well. That was his comment. But as we were playing, there was a group of 4 in front of us, and this guy kept on coming back, asking questions. How'd you go? And then on that particular putt, MJ's giving me the chest pump, turned around and pointed at this guy. Well, anyway, several months later, I found out that putt was worth 25 grand. So I won MJ 25 grand. So to this day, MJ still says that I'm his best golfing partner because I actually won him that money.
That's ridiculous.
I reckon I used to always say Lance Armstrong, but I feel so bad for saying that. I think, not that I'm a massive tennis fan, but I just think Roger Federer is just the perfect sportsman.
Yeah.
How much time we got? I did some serious research on this.
You've got to narrow it down.
You got us the text message out the other day, and I went to bed on it the other night, and I categorised it so from when I was 0 to 15, 15 to 20, and 20 to 35 to where I am. Have we got time for this? Or?
Yeah, get into it.
No,
Rapid fire.
So I've changed over the years, and I've done different sports and that. So when I was a grommet, I was into soccer. So I was Maradona and Pelé were my two faves.
Yep.
And then obviously 15 to 20s, heavily involved in life saving. So I was T. Hendy and those guys. And then the basketball side of things, everyone got into that. Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, back to Kelly Slater. And then as I got older, probably Jonathan Thurston, Alan Langer, Mick Fanning. And then I jumped out to like the endurance race sort of guys, like Chris McCormack, Craig Alexander that did the Hawaiian Ironmans, those sort of guys.
What about Brad Bevan? You remember watching him every Saturday morning?
The Croc.
The Croc.
Yeah. Oh, Tiger Woods got to get a start. Muhammad Ali, Michael Schumacher. I'd get 100 favourites. Like they're all
favourite athlete of all time. Pick one.
One Clifford.
Woods for multiple things.
Tiger Woods.
Probably LeBron James.
The king.
Yeah.
I think we're witnessing it. I think Steve Smith. I'm a big cricket fan. I'm saying better than Bradman.
You've been a brilliant guest. Really appreciate it. Last question. 4 people over for a beer and some barbecue. Who do you invite and what are you cooking? You can have anyone from history. I'll bring them back from the dead for you if you like.
Well, first of all, I'd cook them a ribeye on the bone.
Nice.
There'd be,
I'm coming.
Bugs, bit of a surf and turf sort of
Yeah,
theme.
I like it. I'm in.
Calamari, some fresh calamari grilled, not any of this other crap, but it has to be grilled.
Who's cooking it?
Oh, I know a couple of good cooks. It ain't you, Dylan. Actually, Dylan is a very good cook, must say. There'd be a bit of red wine too. Probably a stogie for dessert, just to sit down and watch a bit of sport.
I was going to get you one, but just due to the regulations here in the studio, we couldn't smoke them today, so I apologise for that, but maybe next
Thank
time.
Michael Jordan for that. I just thought it looked cool back when I was a kid and
sitting there with the
stuck.
So obviously Jordan will be coming to the barbecue.
Yeah, Jordan. I think Nelson Mandela would come.
Huge.
I reckon
One.
he'd be a big one. They'd all be athletes, I think. I'd like to have a chat to Greg Norman, see what he's got happening. But the last one, my goodness, I think
Roy.
Nah, I've had plenty of beers and banter with Roy. I'd probably get my grandpa back from the grave, I reckon, just so he could have a bit of a
good one.
That's good.
mingle around with the boys. He'd
I
love
like
that.
it.
Oh, okay. I'm a shocking cook, mate. So it's
You can just
probably-
catch a fish
Pizza.
for someone else.
It's gonna be a dirty old flathead on the barbecue in butter with lemon.
Perfect.
Cool.
But I'd like to get a Gold Coast. I reckon Mick Fanning would be a really interesting bloke to talk to.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, he's had plenty to deal with, and the pressure he's copped, especially when he's at an event. I've seen photos of those hundreds of people around him with their phone, and he's sitting there trying to prep for an event, and he's going out in big surf. I don't know. I'd love to talk to him about some of that. Malcolm Douglas. Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Yep. We lost him, but he's probably the great with all the YouTube and social media around adventure now. I still don't think anyone comes close to him.
What was he was like before? He was like Russell Coit sort of taking the piss out of Malcolm Douglas.
Malcolm Douglas.
What was Malcolm Douglas' show? Was it?
It was all about fishing and adventuring the top end with his dog, and he had like an animal park up in Broome, I think.
Yeah.
And he was just rough as mate.
Before Steve Irwin, before any of those guys, he was just living it real.
Yeah, so it'd be him. I saw a great podcast on Bob Lazar, which that'll get you going for if you're a conspiracy.
Well, I thought we were about to wrap this pod up, but you just added
You've opened it up.
I got to go.
Boom.
That's the doco that Matt shot through the other day to ask you to watch.
That's required.
Yeah, I didn't watch
that's
it.
required listening.
I
Dylan.
did watch that. I did watch it, and I listened to the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah.
Did you listen to it on Joe or another one?
Yeah. That and there's.
Did you watch the documentary on
Yeah, I saw that
Netflix?
same day,
So-
mate.
so-
3.5 hours.
Give us your fourth, and then we're coming back to Bob Lazar.
And then the fourth is another bloke I've seen talking on mushrooms, Paul Stamets.
Just steak and salad. I think that's an easy one. That's a hard one. I'd go Jordan, Nelson Mandela. I'll go Brad Wiggins, and I'll go Lance.
Brad Wiggins.
I still love Lance.
Well, MJ's number one.
Yeah.
I have to have some like Elon Musk
Yeah, that'd be good. That's the best answer so far.
as an entrepreneur. Jeez, Kate Beckinsale. I love Kate. She would have to be there.
Get her there after dinner.
What's she out of?
She's out of Pearl Harbor.
Yeah. Ben Affleck. Yeah, righto.
Ben Affleck, yep. And my fourth would have to be another sporting person, but I don't know. It'd have to be a golfer. I don't know.
Tiger?
No, I would actually love to have a chat with Freddie Couples.
All right. Well, I'm going to say Lance because I want to know all the cycling stories. My granddad, Wally.
Yep.
He's passed away. Maybe Valentino Rossi. Anton Senna.
Hey,
Big one.
Good.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I like those.
What I eat, sorry.
What are you cooking? What are you cooking?
Well, I'm not a good cook, but I've got a Weber at home that I can't seem to go wrong on. So it'd be a butterfly chicken and some steak, and a bit of salad.
Perfect.
I like it.
So 4 people over history. All right.
Yep.
Let's go. Let's go. Elvis.
Elvis. I like it. That's the first
good.
Elvis. Yes.
I reckon he'd like some, good barbecue.
Yeah.
Who else? Someone controversial, but
Tiger getting the gig.
well, he's still alive.
Alive or dead.
Oh fuck! Well, then it's let's get Tiger in on the mix.
Yeah.
Why not? So we've got Tiger Woods. We've got Elvis. That's a good mix.
How's the ladies that are going to follow this barbecue? Stop it. Behave.
Genghis Khan.
Yeah.
All right, you're at 3. So we got Elvis, we got Tiger and Genghis Khan.
Yep. Freddie Mercury.
Oh, what a combo. I'm coming.
That'd be an awesome party.
Can I
That
come?
sounds like a fucking epic.
I'm in.
Stone Cold Steve Austin. I would love to have a beer with him. Growing up as a kid, I love wrestling, and he's one.
316.
He's one man I would love to have a beer with. Then I'd probably like to bring. I'd love to meet Mike Tyson.
Yep.
That'd be pretty cool. 2 more. Geez, you put me in the rocks here. It's harder than you think. This actually.
I usually give. I forgot to tell you before we started.
No, that's all good. That's all good. Another person. Just trying to. I'd probably LeBron. I'd have to have him there as well.
Yep.
And then finally, I think Bob Hawke would be a good one.
Hawkey.
Skull and beers with him.
I'll bring him back for you.
Bobby Hawke. He's obviously renowned for his walking up the stairs at the cricket, and they always give him a beer and he sculls it. So I think he'd be a good man to have a beer with. And what am I cooking? Well, I'm a man who likes to cook up a roast and roasted veggies with, some chili flakes over them and rosemary, rosemary stuff with some steamed veggies, just something like that, with a few cold beers on ice and with an esky out the back under the pergola, with the wind hopefully blowing. So
sounds real good.
Denzel Washington.
Denzel.
Yep. Carl Barron.
Yes.
Yep. Just to
keep
us all entertained.
Ever done a cartwheel to save your life?
Have you ever done this walking down the aisle? Whoopsie. 2 more would be.
Is this what pays to prep you boys?
Yeah,
I did send it out in advance.
I'd say Kelly Slater too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was always
that's predictable.
Yeah. And I was watching him the other night, and to jump on the comedy bandwagon again would be Chris Rock. Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah. I was sitting there and he had me in stitches. So.
What about you, Matthew? Where you going? Who are you getting?
I've never thought about it. I'll ask the questions around here.
Not tonight.
Sure. Do you want all 3 questions or just the last one?
Yeah, go all.
Favourite place in the world for a beer? Hamilton Island's pretty solid.
Tough.
Fiji.
Oh, here we go.
Pretty good. Fraser Island, mate. Sitting at Yidney Rocks at Fraser Island, having a beer late last year. I thought I'd died and gone to heaven, so I'm going to say Fraser. A beer anywhere on Fraser Island, to be honest. Could be sitting in the creek with you blokes on Eli Creek. Favourite athlete of all time? It's a tough one. There was one man that I thought was a god when I was a kid, and that was Alan Langer. I don't know if call him an athlete.
He's not an
but
athlete, he's a footy player.
He was a god.
Athletes are playing the game today.
He was a god amongst men.
Back then, they were all about playing footy and
having a good time.
Yeah.
4 people over for a barbecue. Do you get deep? I'd go Joe Rogan just because I absolutely froth on the bloke. I think he's got a good outlook on life. Alfie gets a start. What about Jesus? I want to see what that bloke was all about. Get him back. See if he was a fake news or not. What's that?
No comment.
1, 2. I'll take my big brother as well. If I could get someone back for the afternoon, he'd definitely be there. Cause he,
good chat.
I tell you what, he's cooking because he was mad at it. But it'd be steak on the barbie for sure. That just about wraps us up for today. Is there anything else?
Nothing else.
We're going to do a science update today, Timmy, or not?
What would you like to talk about, Matt? Anything?
Flat Earth.
Flat Earth. So, are you a flat Earth?
So I've heard that to have a successful podcast, you need to talk about flat Earth. So
flat Earth.
I know you follow Neil deGrasse Tyson pretty closely.
I do. Yep.
And he shared a picture the other day. How do we explain to the universe that the Earth's flat when all the rest of the planets are round?
That is true. That is true. And there is a massive following. There's now millions of people. What are you, Dylan? Are you a flat earther or you're...
Nah, you've lost me.
The globe.
Just keep going, I'll listen.
Okay, so there's millions of people that are convinced that the Earth is flat. And if you actually want to check it out, there's a documentary on Netflix called Behind the Curve.
This sounds like a folder or scruncher type argument.
This could be a regular segment because you were doing a Netflix update last week, Timmy.
Yeah, Doco of the Week.
Yeah.
Doco of the Week. So these it's actually a legitimate thing. There's a lot of, and I actually know someone personally that was having a conversation with me, which first put me onto it, the fact that the Earth is flat, and they thought it was one of the biggest conspiracies the government had. So it's there you go. You're bringing it up now.
So I don't know if our viewers at home could see this, but probably if you go to Neil deGrasse Tyson's Twitter feed, he's just got a bit of a picture there. Explain this. It'd be hard to explain to the universe if.
It's pretty tough. I think there's a lot more evidence if we talk about. You've only got to really stand on the horizon and watch a sunset. I know personally, I've stood there and watched the sunset, and as it hits the top of a mountain first and then makes its way down. Surely this is only possible by
That's
sun.
The little bit of gold I was looking for, Timmy. There's just that key way to explain why flat.
Or
anyone that's ever been on a plane.
Anyone that's been on a plane, or go out to sea. You go out to sea on a boat, then as you head out, before you lose sight.
There's not much else to do in Ballina, is there?
There's not a lot to do, but you got to watch it. Behind the Curve.
Do you know what I think it is? People have watched too much Game of Thrones, and they think Antarctica is the wall.
That's
in
what it
Game
is.
of Thrones.
So what they believe is it's a
so you're looking forward to the Masters. April is a big month, my friend. It's 5 or 6 years of my life culminating in
Game
of Thrones and Avengers Endgame. Huge.
It all comes
to a couple of wins for the Titans.
And the Titans back to back to back over the next couple of weeks.
What about
right? Coming back to Bob Lazar.
Yeah,
that's how Trump. That's how Trump wins the next election, right? So for those that haven't watched it, this Bob Lazar basically worked at, according to him, a subsection of Area 51 called S4 back in the late 80s, reverse engineering a power source that could create gravity, basically. A lot of the stuff that he got shot down for back then has come out and since been proven true. This is Trump. He's going to come out a week before the next election. It's all real. UFOs, folks. I'll release it all. It's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. We're not sharing it with China. No China.
Very good, Matty. Just love being there.
So that's it. That's the hook. He's going to go, you got to vote for me. And I'll tell you all about the flying saucers.
Me and Bobby.
But this picture, sorry I distracted people, but can you tell us what's going on?
It looks like a stain on the screen there. What do you got there, mate?
It's the Eye of Saruman, isn't it, from Lord of the Rings or not? What is it?
That is a black hole.
What?
Massive news this week. Huge news. So basically, mid last year, there's a team called that ran actually it was a group of 200 scientists together.
Stay with us, Dylan. Don't fall asleep.
Dylan, I can see him. They basically formed an alliance and they called it the Event Horizon Telescope. So it was a collaboration of telescopes around the Earth. So basically the problem in the past has been they've known where these black holes are and they've actually been able to, I suppose, visualize the effects that gravity's had on stars around the black holes. But due to the size, and just to give you an idea, whilst that is absolutely massive, that black hole, it's I suppose what they've achieved is the equivalent of us seeing something the size of an orange on the moon. So the only way they're able to achieve this is by actually having a telescope or a radio telescope the size of Earth. So if you can picture, by having these radio telescopes around Earth, they've achieved this amazing feat. And what you're seeing on the screen is something that basically Einstein predicted or theorised. So it's exactly, you're seeing photons of light spinning around a black hole, and what you actually see is the black hole itself doesn't have a size, but the size that they measure is what's called the event horizon, hence the Event Horizon Telescope. So what you're actually looking at is the point beyond where light can no longer actually escape.
The event horizon is as you go through the hole and into the abyss.
That's correct. So the black hole itself actually doesn't have a size.
And they're saying that there's one of these at the centre of each galaxy, and that's why you
Most
get that
galaxies.
swirling look when you see a picture of a galaxy.
Most galaxies will have this. So it's
Timmy,
absolutely
I think
massive.
we've lost him.
We've lost Dylan.
Yeah, righto. You can follow us at Beers and Banter on all the platforms. Head over to YouTube, leave a comment if you like. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Come at us. Thanks for listening. We'll see you soon. Thanks for your support in 2019, and we'll be back in 2020 to do it all again. Cheers.